It's always good to get the first win, even if it is a little bit ugly. We will dive into the good, bad, and the ugly with Jason Priester, allclemsontigers.com. And please like the video right here. Get on over to allclemsontigers.com. Check out Jason's work. Jason, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I am doing just fine. I want to find out how this football team's doing. Just about all of us saw the Duke game, and I'm guessing unless you're a Clemson diehard, you didn't see the week 2 performance, but I kept seeing the score flash up, and I thought up until, the final looked pretty impressive, but until sometime in the third quarter, they didn't get a handle on that game.
It was very odd. The mistakes that played Clemson in the season opener against Duke carried over into the first quarter of this game. Clubnik made might have been one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. Instead of just taking a sack, tried to throw a ball away and just threw it up for grabs. It was returned for a touchdown. Fumbled a snap. It wasn't a perfect snap, but it was one he should have handled. It was returned to the one, and they punch it in. All of a sudden, you look up, Charleston Southern's leading 14-7. They've run 6 plays, no rushing yards, or 1 rushing yard, and have 6 total yards of offense, and they're up 14-7. They kind of righted the ship after that. I thought Clubnik really settled down after halftime. Still looks like he's locking on to one guy, not going through his progressions the way you'd want to see a quarterback do. I thought in the Duke game that he went to his check down guys awfully early, gave up on some plays. Disappointed they didn't take more shots down the field into that game. A large majority of Clubnik's pass attempts in that Duke game were just 10 yards or less. I think 17 of the 43 were behind the line of scrimmage. And I knew the screens weren't going anywhere, but it kind of felt like last year where Clemson was letting the defense dictate what they were going to do. Duke was playing a lot of too high, and they weren't, they were settling for what the defense was giving them. And we heard during the spring how they wanted to get back to dictating, not just settling for what was being given. I don't think there's a lot to be gleaned from what happened against Charleston Southern. They're not very good. They're not very good for an FCS team. They're bad. They barely beat Division II North Greenville, the week before. I do think it's encouraging that Clemson put up almost 7, whatever eye-popping number of offense it was, 700 yards or whatever it was, because if you go back to Furman last year, Clemson couldn't even get their offense on track against them. And it was the same deal as this week, a short week. It played on Monday, came back to play Furman on Saturday. Couldn't get the passing game going. Go back to South Carolina State game in 2021, couldn't get the passing game going. Last year against Louisiana Tech, couldn't really get the passing game going. So at least it was good to see them finally get that thing going. They really seemed like they found something in that third quarter, and Clubnik really started to settle in. He was scanning the field, not locking on to one guy. Maybe it's something to build on.
Yeah, to be fair, we can find a group of decent teams each and every week that struggle against FCS or low group of 5 teams. It just happens, and typically then blow them out. But most of the time, you should be able to handle them from the get-go. So I'm thinking with Florida State 2 weeks away, FAU comes in. They are 1-1. They've got a couple familiar names on the sideline in Casey Thompson, a quarterback, former Nebraska quarterback, led the Big 12 in touchdown passes at Texas 2 years ago. And then you've got Tom Herman, former Houston and Texas coach, on the sideline as well. So FAU comes in. Not a whole lot of talk about the opponent, of course, but this is an opponent where a vintage, top-notch, elite Clemson team would be more like a 40-point favorite. They're a 24-point favorite, but I guess you and everybody else is looking for a clean game, come out from the opening drive, establish dominance, control the line of scrimmage, be crisp in the passing game, do all those things that look like you're preparing and going to be ready for the next game against whoever that is.
Florida State.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, brutal truth, man. The turnover problems that are plaguing this team, they aren't new. They stretch back to last season. They have just had ball security issues for whatever reason. it was in the Duke game. It wasn't just Clubnik. I mean, there Will Shipley had one go off his hands that he probably should have reeled in. It's not the first time he's had a drop. I mean, he's had some fumble issues at times. So these are issues that we've seen going back to last year. So it's not just like it's something new that's just reared its ugly head. It's something they're going to have to get a handle on, or they're looking at a season unlike anything they've seen in recent years, because this schedule presents some challenges. If you look at it, you got Florida State, Miami, Notre Dame, North Carolina, all but one of those, you get in Death Valley, but still, there are a lot of things that this Clemson team needs to clean up before Florida State comes to town in a couple of weeks.
You get my picks, everyone, at two places, basically. Patreon.com/MarkRogersTV. Also, if you're a YouTube member on the main channel. So we want to make it so you only have to be a member at one or the other. So Patreon.com/MarkRogersTV. You get my picks, 27-14 against the spread. We're off to a good start. And then also he's a YouTube member. And hey, you get Jason's picks as well. Some of our standard media contributors deliver their 12-pack of picks straight up and against the spread each and every week. Yeah, that Florida State team, Jason, they're not messing around right now. They just won a game against Southern Miss, is usually a decent group of five team, have done very well the last couple seasons as like a solid bowl team, and Florida State just smacked them around. So it gets serious here real quick. So this is the last audition for the big showdown.
Yeah, I forgot who Florida State plays this week, but they don't have
Boston College.
Boston College, but they don't have near the issues Clemson's got right now. Florida State's playing well. They played well against LSU. I mean, outside of some coverage issues, I thought they played well against LSU. That defensive front stout. They got dudes at wide receiver, and you know what you have in Jordan Travis. But I just think when you look at Clemson, maybe Cade Clemson's just not quite as far along as most of us thought he'd be at this point. And I've just kind of realized it's going to be a process with him. We'll see how slow of a process it is. Maybe he's a quick learner and it starts gelling for him quickly. We'll see. I don't think we have the answers to that yet, but I just think it's going to be a process. He's still a young guy. He's still a sophomore. 3 starts under his belt now? Yeah, 3. Is it 3 or 4? 3 or 4, but he 2 this year, 1 last year, so 3, and played most of the North Carolina game. I guess you could count that as a start, but he's still not very experienced, still making some mistakes that you'd see out of a guy not very experienced. Mistakes I didn't think he'd be making this year, but mistakes he's making nonetheless. So he's still got some growing to do on the field. Again, I thought he looked much better in the third quarter after he settled down. One thing we have heard Dabo Swinney talk about a little bit is maybe Clubnik's a little too amped up when he comes out, and they got to find a way to kind of harness that energy to where it does not, translate onto the field or whatever, and maybe causes him to have a mental lapse or something and make a mistake. But he is a very energetic dude, that's for sure. But again, I think it's just going to be a process with him, and we'll have to see where he is from week to week.
Jason, is everybody healthy?
Clemson held 2 guys out, Andrew Makuba and Cole Turner, the starting wide receiver. Cole Turner actually started over Adam Randall and played almost double the amount of snaps Adam Randall did against Duke, which is I just could not believe. And then when you start watching Randall play, maybe it's a little bit more believable. He looks very timid out there. He tore his ACL last year and then had another procedure done on his other knee at the end of the season. He just looks kind of timid to me at times. Doesn't even resemble the guy I watched in high school, because he played both ways, wide receiver, safety, and he was always looking for contact on the defensive side of the ball, and he was physical. Just not seen a lot of that out of him yet. I thought he did better Saturday against Charleston Southern, but again, Charleston Southern. Other than that, it looks like everybody's healthy, and those guys are day to day, so they should be fine.